Filmspotting is brought to you by Filmspotting Streaming Video Unit. SVU is your guide to the world of online cinema. Every 2 weeks, Matt Singer from ScreenCrush.com and BuzzFeed's Allison Wilmore fill you in on new streaming releases along with what they've been watching recently. And Josh, we had to make it a trifecta. All three Filmspotting family shows had to weigh in on Ready Player One, it seems.
Which means this is another Filmspotting show I have to hold off on listening to because I still haven't seen it. Well, Matt and Allison are going to use Ready Player One as an excuse to talk about all sorts of movies that turn up in the reference-heavy dystopian adventure, including their listener's choice review of Brad Bird's beloved 1999 film, The Iron Giant.
Just fast forward to that part.
Maybe I will.
Filmspotting SVU is part of the Filmspotting family of shows. For all the latest episodes and info on how to subscribe, visit filmspottingsvu.com.
This is Josh Brolin from The Goonies 2. You're listening to Filmspotting? That's a question.
What kind of a show are you guys putting on here today?
You're not interested in art?
No.
Now look, we're going to do this thing. We're going to have a conversation.
From Chicago, this is Filmspotting. I'm Adam Kempenaar.
And I'm Josh Larson.
In time, you will know what it's like to lose. To feel so desperately that you're right, yet to fail all the same.
Grim thoughts there from Thanos, the latest existential threat to wage war on poor, embattled Earth. Luckily, we have the Avengers, who apparently have all the time in the world to fight an infinity war.
So I finally figured out infinity is actually a reference to those infinity stones, not the actual length of the war.
Oh, okay. This week on the show, the future of the Marvel Cinematic Universe hangs in the balance as we review Infinity War, plus the Filmspotting Avengers, where Josh and I assemble our own teams of cinematic heroes.
All that and more.
Infinity Stones.
Ahead on Filmspotting. Support for Filmspotting and the following message come from Volvo. Remember when you could only listen to programs like this live on the radio? Someday you'll remember when people had to buy cars, too. Introducing the new Volvo XC40, the car you can subscribe to. No down payment, no negotiation. One monthly payment, insurance and maintenance are all included. You can even upgrade to a new car after 12 months. Subscribe now to Care by Volvo, the revolutionary new way to own a car.
Hello and welcome to Filmspotting. This show probably won't sound much different to you, but this really is the first normal episode we've had since the end of February. Last week, we finally finished off Filmspotting Madness, the best of the 90s. Our congrats again to Marge Gunderson and the Coen brothers, Fargo, winning the championship. We also wrapped up our 6-part Vincent Minnelli marathon. And this week, Josh, it's back to the basics. No gimmicks, just us talking. Is that going to be enough?
Well, we have an MCU film. Is that a gimmick? I guess that's kind of back to normal as well, isn't it?
We'll get there. We do have just a review of Avengers Infinity War, and then the triumphant return, we'll see, of Massacre Theater. And then I think a really fun top 5, something we're calling the Filmspotting Avengers. Josh, do you want to tease that at all? Want to explain that at all, or should we just let it hang?
I don't know if I'm qualified. We'll have to get to that later.
There are a lot of details that we need to get to set up the Filmspotting Avengers. We will get to that later in the show.
But first, Avengers Infinity War is so big, so massive, so colossal, I think even Adam and I might have had supporting parts in it. We'll have to clarify that in our review.
The entire time I knew him, he only ever had one goal. To wipe out half the universe. If he gets all the Infinity Stones, he can do it with the snap of his fingers. Just like that.
Tell me his name again.
Thanos.
My math may not be accurate here, Josh. Excluding extras, though, I counted something like 247 characters in Infinity War. I'm not saying there are too many characters necessarily, but I now understand why it's called the Marvel Cinematic Universe. We get a smattering of hench creatures, but other than those, there's only one villain, really, Thanos. And through a whole lot of comic book movies over the past decade or so, the two of us have been fairly unkind to the villains. Nondescript, one note, or just plain boring, the bad guys have been mostly pretty bad. However, that isn't how we've felt recently. If I recall correctly, the last 3 MCU villains have actually been strengths of their respective movies, according to us. Michael Keaton's Vulture in Spider-Man Homecoming, Thor Ragnarok's Hela, while maybe a more traditional hell-bent on destruction antagonist, was reprehensible fun thanks to the devilish grin and acting skills of Cate Blanchett. And of course, Michael B. Jordan's Killmonger, who I described during our review of Black Panther as flesh and blood, motivated by pain and a recognition of injustice. Oh, and he's a badass. Maybe part of what worked is that two of those three are humans, whose superpowers are pretty much just a ruthless determination for revenge. Hela, she's a god, but she's played by a goddess. And so with Thanos, we have a recipe for potential disaster. An already seemingly all-powerful